There's a line from Marcus Aurelius that always strikes me. Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Most of us live trapped in comparison. We scroll through social media, see people younger than us, richer than us, stronger than us, and we shrink. We convince ourselves they're better. But here's the truth the Stoics knew well. No one is better than you, unless you believe they are. Act as if you are the best, not in arrogance, not in ego, but in unshakable confidence that your life is yours to master. If you want more timeless wisdom like this, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. It keeps the journey alive. Number 1. The disease of comparison. We live in a world where comparison has become the silent killer of confidence. Social media makes it even worse. You scroll, you see someone richer, fitter, prettier, or smarter, and suddenly you feel like you're worth less. But Stoicism teaches us that external things, money, beauty, fame, are not the true measure of a person's value. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When you compare yourself to others, you hand them control over your peace. You act as if their existence somehow lowers your worth. But here's the truth. Nobody can be better at being you than you. That's not just self-help fluff, it's reality. Imagine comparing an oak tree to a sunflower. Pointless, right? They grow differently, yet both serve their purpose. So why compare yourself to another human being who has a completely different story? When you believe others are better, you shrink your own potential. You hold back in conversations, avoid opportunities, and walk into rooms apologizing for existing. That's not humility, it's self-betrayal. Humility is knowing you have value while respecting others, not bowing to them as if they were gods. If you need a funny example, think about it. A cat never walks into a room thinking, "Oh, I hope they like me." No, it walks in like it owns the place, knocks your glass off the table, and dares you to complain. Be the cat. Number 2, the power of acting as if. Acting as if you are the best doesn't mean arrogance. It means confidence without apology. The Stoics believe character is shown by how you carry yourself, not by titles or recognition. Seneca wrote, "The man who does not value himself cannot value anything or anyone." So if you act small, the world will treat you as small. When you act as if, your brain starts to catch up. Science even proves this. Body language and self-talk influence how we feel. Stand tall, breathe deeply, speak with clarity. These actions tell your mind, "I belong here." Even if you don't believe it yet, pretending plants the seed of belief. The Stoics weren't about fake bravado, but they were about discipline, and discipline often starts with action before the feeling follows. Think about it. No baby waits until it's confident to start walking. They stumble, fall, and act as if they can do it until eventually they can. But adults? We hesitate. We wait for some magical confidence to appear before we take a step. That's why so many dreams die. So act as if. Walk into the interview as if you already belong there. Speak to people as if you already respect yourself. Don't wait for the crown to walk like a king or queen. And if anyone calls you delusional, just smile. After all, who's really delusional? The one acting boldly or the one waiting for permission that will never come? Number 3, redefining the best. Here's where people get it wrong. Being the best doesn't mean you're richer, more famous, or stronger than others. Those standards are unstable, temporary, and often out of your control. The Stoic way of being the best is different. It's about living with virtue, discipline, and unshakable self-respect. No one can be better than you at choosing courage over fear, wisdom over foolishness, or self-control over chaos. When you see yourself through this lens, life becomes lighter. You stop obsessing over rankings and titles, because your value is not up for debate. Think about Marcus Aurelius, the Emperor of Rome, the most powerful man in the world, yet he still reminded himself daily that he was no better than anyone else. He understood that being the best was not about domination, but about living rightly. This mindset also protects you from envy. Why? Because when you act as if you are the best, you stop seeing others as threats. Their success doesn't reduce you. Their beauty doesn't erase yours. Their wealth doesn't shrink your worth. You start cheering for people instead of resenting them, because you know you're secure. And let's be honest, the only real competition most of us face is against who we were yesterday. If you can win that battle, you've already beaten the hardest opponent. Everyone else is just background characters in your story. Number 4, the courage to be seen. One of the hardest things in life is allowing yourself to be visible. To walk into rooms, share your ideas, and risk rejection. Most people hide in the shadows because they fear being judged. But Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we control, our effort, our choices, our values. How others see us is beyond our power. Acting as if you're the best gives you courage to be seen. It doesn't mean you'll never feel fear, but it means you'll move anyway. Seneca said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." The moment you start living like you belong, most of the fear disappears because the fear was never real in the first place. The funny thing? People often believe what you present. If you act small, they'll treat you small. If you act with quiet confidence, they'll assume you have reasons to be confident. That's how humans work. They mirror what they see. So why not give them something strong to mirror? Think about it. Half the people you admire are just people who decided to stop hiding. They weren't born with a special light. They just had the courage to switch theirs on. You can too. Number 5, living with quiet confidence. Now, let's make this practical. Living as if no one is better than you means you carry yourself with calm assurance, not arrogance. You don't need to boast, shout, or prove yourself. You just live it. When you speak, you mean it. When you walk steady. When you fail, you don't crumble, you learn and try again. That's real strength. This mindset also creates peace, because if no one is above you, then no one can make you feel small. At the same time, if no one is beneath you, you respect everyone. That balance is freedom. You're not living to impress, and you're not living to compete. You're simply living with dignity. Let's be clear, people will test you. Some will call you arrogant, others will try to pull you down. But don't waste energy defending yourself. Stoicism reminds us to focus on what we control, and one thing we always control is our character. If you're grounded in that, no insult can shake you. And if you ever forget this truth, just remember, even a lion doesn't explain itself to sheep. Walk with quiet confidence. Act as if you are the best, and the world will eventually catch up. Number 6, stop waiting for permission. Most people never live boldly because they're waiting for approval. They think, once my family supports me, once my friends understand me, once society accepts me, then I'll rise. But the Stoics knew you don't need permission to live fully. Epictetus didn't ask Rome to approve his freedom of thought. He claimed it by living it. The truth is, no one will ever give you that magical green light. People are too busy with their own fears to hand you confidence. If you sit around waiting, you'll wait your whole life. Acting as if you were the best is a way of granting yourself permission. It's you saying, I don't need the world's blessing to take up space. Here's something funny. Think about pigeons in the park. They strut around like they own the place, even though they've never paid rent or taxes. They just exist with zero shame. And yet humans, the most advanced creatures on the planet, tiptoe through life asking silently, am I allowed to be here? It's absurd. So stop waiting. Live boldly. Walk into the room. Start the project. Say what needs to be said. You don't need a stamp of approval from anyone else. You already have permission because you exist. And that's enough. Number 7, silence the inner critic. Sometimes, the enemy isn't other people. It's the voice in your own head. That voice that whispers, you're not good enough. You're not smart enough. Someone else is better. The Stoics taught us that our thoughts shape our reality. And if we let the inner critic run wild, it will destroy us faster than any outside enemy. Marcus Aurelius constantly wrote reminders to himself in his journal to silence this noise. Why? Because he knew even emperors doubt themselves. If self-doubt can haunt the most powerful man in Rome, of course it will come for you. But here's the secret. You don't have to believe every thought you think. Acting as if you are the best is one of the most powerful ways to quiet that inner critic. When the voice says, "You can't do this," you act anyway. When it says, "They're better than you," you carry yourself like you belong. It's not denial, it's training. Every time you refuse to bow to the voice, you teach your mind who's really in charge. And if the voice won't shut up, laugh at it. Imagine it as a grumpy old neighbor yelling from their porch. You'll never amount to anything. Would you really let that man control your destiny? Of course not. Treat your inner critic the same way. Listen politely, then keep walking. Number 8, the weight of regret. One of the heaviest burdens you can carry is regret. Not the regret of failing, but the regret of never trying. Stoicism teaches us to remember death, not to depress us, but to wake us up. Life is short. Every day you hesitate. You lose time you'll never get back. Think about it. In 10 years, you won't remember the embarrassment of being judged, but you'll always remember the dream you didn't chase, the opportunity you didn't take, the courage you didn't show. People regret silence more than mistakes, hesitation more than boldness. When you act as if you are the best, you protect yourself from that regret. Even if you stumble, you'll stumble forward. Even if you fail, you'll fail with dignity, knowing you gave life everything you had. The Stoics would tell us, better to live with scars of effort than with the slow poison of regret. So picture yourself at 80 years old, looking back on today. What story do you want to tell? That you played it safe, shrank yourself, and lived in fear? Or that you walked boldly, knowing no one was better than you? The answer is obvious. Don't wait until it's too late. Number 9, strength in humility. Here's an important point. Acting as if you were the best doesn't mean looking down on others. Real strength never needs to crush someone else to feel tall. Stoicism teaches us that all humans are equal in worth, even if our roles differ. You can act as if you were the best without ever thinking someone else is beneath you. True humility is not thinking less of yourself. It's simply not needing to compare at all. When you know your value, you don't need to prove it by belittling others. In fact, the strongest people often uplift those around them because they're secure in their own greatness. Think of it like this. The sun shines without asking permission, but it also doesn't dim another person's candle. Your light doesn't take away from anyone else's. It only adds more light to the world. That's what acting as if you were the best should look like. Confident, but compassionate. And besides, arrogance is exhausting. It's like carrying around a heavy crown that keeps slipping off your head. Confidence, on the other hand, feels natural. It doesn't need applause. It just exists. Be confident, not arrogant, strong but kind. Number 10, the daily practice. Finally, acting as if you were the best is not a one-time thing. It's a daily practice like brushing your teeth or exercising. Every day, you remind yourself, I am not beneath anyone. Every day, you carry yourself with quiet strength. Over time, it becomes natural. The Stoics used journaling, meditation, and reflection to train their minds. You can do the same. Each morning, remind yourself of your worth. Each night, review your actions and see if you lived as if no one was above you. This isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. And yes, some days you'll fail. Some days you'll shrink, compare, or doubt yourself. That's normal. The key is to notice it and realign quickly. The practice is in returning to your power again and again until it becomes your second nature. So don't just think about this as a philosophy to admire. Make it a habit to live. Act as if you are the best, because life is too short to live any other way. And who knows? Maybe one day, someone else will look at you and say, they walk like no one is above them. And that's exactly why they inspire me.